These are scary stories that happened to my brother and I, who later founded the site SpookyLinks.com. These are the stories that made us believe in the supernatural. Scary story number 1. Ghost in the house. I've decided to start off the stories with the earliest one. Ever since we were twin baby boys living in California, we have had something paranormal watching us. We laugh and say that our first home is exactly what happened in the movie Poltergeist, but it's true. The new housing development moved the cemetery to another location, and which later someone turned into bike trails and jumps and more, and thus became our hangout. My mom used to watch a blue mist going through the house and watching over our crib and beds as we grew. When we slept from night to morning, our bodies never moved, covered completely still, as if we'd just been tucked in for bed. But then time passed, and we moved to Texas. We moved into a house, and across the street was a disgruntled old man. He hated the world, later finding out he lost his wife a few years back, and that he only had one dog due to his next-door neighbor kids playing with fireworks, accidentally burning all his 8 dogs to death. He was left with 2 things in life: a surviving dog and his home. No relatives. The backstory leads into some stories of ghosts. My brother and I were 10 now, and it was 1997. We shared a bedroom at the end of the hall, and from the hallway you can see all the way down to the living room, and can also see the light coming from the kitchen. We were up late playing Nintendo 64. The game was Nightmare Creatures, around 1 and 2 a.m. I don't know when it started, but it sounded as if someone were banging pots and pans, doing the dishes in the kitchen. I didn't say anything to my brother at the time, but I thought my mom was still up, probably angry doing dishes. So we played on. After a few minutes though, it seemed to grow louder and more violent. Since the game we were playing is a 1-player game, I looked out the bedroom door and down the hall. I saw the light in the kitchen on and the shadow cast into the living room of someone moving around in there. I looked at my brother and shrugged. My parents' bedroom was 4 feet away, on the opposite side of the hall, adjacent to a bathroom separating the 2 rooms. I walked over and peered into my parents' bedroom, where I saw both my mom and dad sleeping. I quickly turned around and snuck back into my bedroom and went up to my brother. They're asleep. Instantly, my brother knew what that meant. Something else was down the hall in the kitchen. Quickly, we shut off the lights and TV and jumped into our bunk beds. Mine was on the top. We both stared into the dark hallway, listening. At this time, we heard the pots and pans stop, and the walking began through the living room, on the hardwood floor, and into the hallway. Banging against the walls in the hall started as I kept wondering why my dad, who was a light sleeper, hasn't woken up from the noise. I continued to stare into the darkness, waiting for the sight of whatever or whoever it was doing this. The banging was right outside the open door now, but nothing was seen, and suddenly the drawers and cabinets in the bathroom began opening and shutting like crazy. I expected my dad to wake up at any moment, but then the toilet flushed and everything stopped suddenly. Everything was quiet. We waited a few minutes before my brother and I got out of bed and began turning back on the lights, looking around. The drawers and cabinets in the bathroom were open, and the kitchen pots and pans were all strewn about. Years passed, and we never had anything that drastic since. Some small noises and odd occurrences that you see people freaking out in normal TV shows like A Haunting. Now we were 14 at the time, in the same house, and I moved into the guest bedroom, and my brother stayed in the old bedroom. We moved the bunk beds into the garage, where we made into a big game room. One night, a light came shining through my window as I tried to go to bed for school, but the light kept blinking on and off. I looked out the window and it was a headlight from the old man's truck in his driveway across the street. I got up and my mom was still up. I told her about it and she told me to go across the street and ask if he was okay. So, I nervously walked across the street and found the old man working on his truck. He said it was nice that I was concerned. He did ask me, though, if I were to help him edge around his property. He was too old and weak to carry the edger, and I said I would. 2 years passed. The man died in bed. I never went over there to ever edge his property. I came home one day and my parents had gotten a new mattress in my room. I asked where we got it, and they said they got it from the house across the street. I thought they were joking. They weren't. And they told me that they tried to fit the mattress onto their bed frame and it wouldn't work. But it fits mine, so I was forced to have the free mattress. The mattress the man died in. From then on, I began to wake up in the morning with broken blood vessels going down my back, like scratches that would slowly fade during the day. Some nights I had to constantly ignore a flashlight in my face as I slept, only to open my eyes to see the light dart down the hallway opposite from the rest of the bedrooms. This would happen all night long, and I just put my head under the covers to block the light. Voices and noises circling the room. Even eventually I started a job and bought a couch that turned into a bed and got rid of the old bed. That's when I would find myself having weird dreams of this thing talking to me in the closet. And when I woke up, I'd find myself lying on the floor halfway between the bed and the closet, staring into the open closet that I always kept closed. And in the outside room that we made into a game room, if you were out there about 12 to 1 a.m., expect to have something whispering and asking you questions. My brother normally would have a voice asking him where I was if I weren't in bed, as he was. He once had a conversation with me, and I answered him back, only to find I was in my room, not out in the game room, which he thought. We'd invite friends to stay the night to experience the happenings. We get a kick out of it every time they were frightened. It's something we lived with. We lived there with the ghost occurrences until we were 23, and then we moved out, but our parents still reside in the house. That's our ghost experiences in that house. But we have much more that happened there, as we lived there, that weren't.